Just retweet this here. And we are live on Trovo and Periscope and DLive Facebook. And is YouTube? Yes. What's up, everybody? Twitch should be connecting shortly. Again, I'm on JLP Live. I'm saying again for those of you who are listening on the audio feed, which never broke. The live audio feed plays my show and the Jesse Lee Peterson show and Church with Jesse Lee Peterson on the JLP Live player. Very nice. And of course, TalkStream Live. Very nice. TalkStreamLive.com, I believe. And you can get an app, TalkRight app or the TalkStream app. All kinds of ways to listen to the show. So, guys, it is 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Standard Time, Friday, January 22nd, 2020. Church with Jesse Lee Peterson every Sunday on the 24th. And I'm going to be talking about some various things. Twitter is all loosey-goosey, as you know, with vulgar content and actual evil content and lies and smears and stirring up the mob, the anti-white, anti-cop, anti-Trump mob, but quick to take down innocent edginess. Anything that has the edge of truth, because isn't truth like a double-edged sword, something like that? Could cut you and me. And this first black Department of Defense Secretary, head of the Pentagon, yes, they made a special exception to bring him in, even though he's not qualified, according to their own rules. Lloyd Austin, 67 years old, just retired after decades in his government job. Is that overly dismissive to shrug it off as a government job? He's been in the military for that long, right? Immigration out of control. I have some people in the chat asking me questions about Fox News and Ducey. Is it Steve Ducey or Peter Ducey? I think it's Peter Ducey, right? I think she mistakenly, Biden's press secretary, mistakenly called him Steve. And by the way, Biden is killing jobs, and Twitter is not the only one with the double standard against Trump supporters, right? It's Jim Crow against whites and Trump supporters and Christians and anybody who doesn't hate whites. Anybody decent. Antifa and Black Lives Matter get to run themselves ragged. But Q, which supposedly supports Trump, and Proud Boys, which support Trump, and the National Guard, who are exploited to go up against the fake threat against Joe Biden, are exploited and then discarded. You hear about them having to sleep in like a 38-degree indoor parking garage, just right there on the concrete floor. Bunch of National Guardsmen from around the country. What a disgrace. Silliness. But Chuck Schumer's like, if this is true, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Give me a break. Anyway, all that and your calls, you can call in 888-775-3773. Let's get on with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh,
it's Friday. Isn't it Friday?
Hake report. La, la, la. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, let's do the other one. No offense to Trevor Wesley, the great Trevor Wesley, who, for an undisclosed amount, did a reprise of the Hake report that I used during the Monday through Thursday. But on Fridays, I like to play the original Hake report theme song. Nice.
He black. Sorry, guys.
The Hake report, the Hake report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake report, la la la.
What's up, guys? It is Friday, and we are playing the AJ Gallardo original, the Hake Report theme song, brought to you Christmas 2017, and it is beautiful. And you can call in, and we're going to talk and have a fun show.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Very nice. So, how are you all doing? And by the way, shout out to DJ Hardmous. I did receive your remix. Maybe we can play that DJ. Did I give you the DJ Hardmous remix at any point of the Hake Report theme song? If not, I can get that to you for like next week. We can play it like at the end or in the middle or something. Anyway, I have some people on the line want to talk with me, but first, let me get right to this story. Sleazy, filthy Twitter. I don't even like to talk about this stuff. A lot of you guys like to get into this stuff, and some of the Q people like to get into this stuff. But Twitter was sued after refusing, according to the lawsuit, a sex trafficking victim's request. That's how they describe it, right? This is a headline from Revolver News, right? They call them a sex trafficking victim. His request, and it's a dude. It's a young man. Now, he was definitely still underage when this was happening, to remove child pornography. Gross, huh? Terrible. And it's reported by National File, which is a conservative outlet. And I will get to your super chats as well. Appreciate them. The lawsuit was filed on Wednesday, apparently, and this just came out a day or two ago in a federal court in California. The case of a 17-year-old from Florida, suing in California, right? Identified only as John Doe. You know, he's a minor, a young man, who, when he was between ages of 13 and 14, had sexual images and videos of him widely distributed on Twitter. Sex traffickers posing as a 16-year-old female classmate supposedly blackmailed him to share naked content of himself. Gross, huh? I don't see how they blackmailed him in the first place. Maybe they suckered him, and this young man, you know, kids these days are not well raised, and the temptations are out of control with, you know, everybody's on the internet. Everybody has a cell phone. Kids are getting cell phones and on social media. It's pretty degenerate. Anyway, after initially exchanging nude content, the victim, this young man, the purported victim, was then forced to share more. Otherwise, the material would be shared with his, quote, parents, coach, pastor, and others. So this is a Christian kid, young man, teenager, and others the traffickers threatened. John Doe, first complied under duress, the lawsuit notes, but then managed to block the traffickers. However, at some point in 2019, the child pornography content that they got out of this young man, this kid, was then shared to Twitter from two accounts that were known to share this material. Sick. And this is Twitter. Twitter that likes to ban President Trump willy-nilly for thinking that they can read his mind for saying, I'm not going to attend the inauguration. That's glorifying violence in their mind. Something very vaguely, if you read way into it, like a woman who thinks that she can read a man's mind, right? Completely misread President Trump. But yet they're not willing to go after something explicitly evil like this. Sickos. To be expected, right? The tweets were reported to Twitter at least 3 times, the suit alleges. Doe contacted Twitter, filed a report against the tweet when he became aware of it, January 2020, over a year ago, right? Twitter claimed they had reviewed the content and didn't find a violation of their policies. Interesting. Despite the illegal content reaching over 167,000 views on their site. What a degenerate culture. What do you mean you don't see a problem? Doe replied to Twitter. We're both minors right now, and were minors at the time these videos were taken. Duh, right? We were both 13 years of age, he says. I don't know why he has 2 people now, both. I don't know what that refers to. But he says, we were baited, harassed, and threatened to take these videos that are now being posted without our permission. We did not authorize these videos at all, and they need to be taken down. The lawsuit says, according to Revolver Headline and New York Post, so it's not just National File reporting this, New York Post is too. Very reputable newspaper, one of the oldest in America. The lawsuit says Twitter only removed the child porn after the Department of Homeland Security intervention. And the DHS are no angels, but I guess they know a guy in there. He included the case number from a local law enforcement agency, but still the tech giant Twitter allegedly ignored him and refused to do anything about the illegal child sex abuse material. We don't have Twitter's side on this, but I mean, we have Twitter's side on them banning Trump, and it's ridiculous. And they've deleted content from me, or forced me to delete tweets that said something factual about, oh, blacks kill twice as many whites as vice versa every year. And that's supposedly glorification of violence. Now, after seeing their explanation for removing Trump, I get it. They think they're mind readers. 2 days later, Doe's mom was connected with an agent from the Department of Homeland Security through a mutual contact who successfully had the videos removed January 30th of last year. The suit states only after this takedown demand from a federal agent, and they only because they had a mutual contact from the Department of Homeland Security through a mutual contact, did Twitter suspend the user accounts that were distributing the CSAM. Make sure the vent's closed. The CSAM, and reported the CSAM to the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children. I guess child sex something. And that's filed by the National Center on Sexual Exploitation in 2 law firms. Directly in contrast to what their automated reply message and user agreement state that they do try to protect children. Disturbing lawsuit goes on to allege that Twitter knowingly hosts creeps, their word for it, who use the platform to exchange child porn material and profits from it by including ads interspersed between the tweets advertising or requesting the material. Early Thursday, Twitter declined to comment to the post, but later in the day reversed course and sent a statement by email. Twitter has zero tolerance for any material that features or promotes child sexual exploitation. We aggressively fight online child sexual abuse and have heavily invested in technology and tools to enforce our policy, a Twitter spokesperson wrote. Our dedicated teams work to stay ahead of bad faith actors and to ensure we're doing everything we can to remove content, facilitate investigations, and protect minors from harm, both on and offline. Whatever. I'm sure there's some who would have that intention, but they're more interested in politics, these people. They don't have a moral code for what's right. They don't have the real morals, most of them. They're anti-Christian. And there is a flashback from a year ago. Twitter said that pedophiles could discuss their attraction to minors on the platform, according to the Next Web, which was also reported by the Daily Dot. This Michael Salter guy, who's a criminologist, and criminologists, they tend to be liberals, but he's a coordinator of Organized Abuse, a site that shares reliable information about organized abuse to professionals, victims, and survivors. Highlighted Twitter's policy loophole in a series of tweets. Social platforms like Instagram and Twitter discreetly change the terms and conditions regularly, they say. Last year, Facebook quietly introduced a ban on a so-called sexual emoji that proved so-called discriminatory towards so-called sex workers, which is another word for like prostitutes and strippers, right? And not safe for work artists making a living on the platform. I guess this is an Australian academic, Michael Salter. They changed their guidelines last March to allow public discussion, maybe two Marches ago, 2019, to allow public discussion about attraction towards minors with the agreement that they don't promote or glorify child sexual exploitation in any way. Pretty gross stuff, huh? And this man, Michael Salter, who tweeted about it a year ago in January 2020, had a whole thread on it. He said, in 2019, Twitter quietly changed its TOS, Terms of Service, to permit discussion about attraction towards minors. With the proviso, they don't promote or glorify it in any way, the child sexual exploitation. That's their child sexual exploitation policy. And you hear about this stuff all the time it kind of reminds me of a perversion of church with Jesse Lee Peterson, where these people have a false version of reality and a false version of morals. They say, oh, consenting adults, that's the only moral. Reminds me of that 22-year-old young man who called me and then hung up on me. He was trying to say that sex outside of marriage isn't wrong. Oh, we can use each other. That's not wrong as long as you use condoms and contraception and preventive measures so you don't have the kids. Just female-minded thinking, addressing the symptoms that they don't like and not the root issue that they love, which is the immorality. These people talk about, homosexuality is a sexual, what do they call it? They don't call it a preference. They call it I forget what they call it. But they act like this is something that you're born with and you cannot overcome it. And yet some people overcome it because they are more fluid in their not gender identity, whatever. Oh, sexual orientation. That's what they call it. Just making up stuff. Satan. It reminds me of in the garden, like Satan, or not Satan, but the serpent was messing with Eve and tricking her in various ways, turning her into an intellectual and saying, oh, just directly contradicting what God told Adam. Big Bump sent me a text, said, Twitter just gave me a 12-hour suspension for saying someone's thinking is retarded, but yet they allow child porn. And he's shaking his head. Just a false version of, it's really sick stuff. I don't like talking about this that much. But it's a false version of morals. And it's a continuous slide. Yeah. Dark side of the bear. What? Said sexual orientation. I couldn't even think of the word. It's so stupid. These people come up with various things. They come up with the most meaningless titles for things. And when you encounter an organization that has a meaningless sounding title, you know that it's going to be like satanic, far left, enemies of America, enemies of men and of whites, and all of that stuff. I told you guys yesterday about racial equity. Listen to this title of this organization, and then I'll get to calls. Center for Assessment and Policy Development. That's an actual organization. What a vague, liberal name, right? Center for Assessment and Policy Development, or Open Source Leadership Strategies. These are far left socialism, social justice, anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-men pushing stuff. Center for Social Inclusion. That's the one. That one's a little more obvious. But they use vague terms to just obscure the truth. And they use, I heard that Joe Biden is getting rid of the term illegal alien, even though that's that's been like a long-standing federal precise term. I heard on Tucker Carlson of Fox News that he's changing it to non-citizens. Well, there's a whole lot of people who are non-citizens who are here legally here. But illegal aliens is accurate. Undocumented immigrants is not accurate. First of all, immigrant kind of implies that they came here legally, and they did not. Well, many of them may have come legally and overstayed their visas, so they broke the law to stay here, or they broke the law to come here. And they're breaking the law by being here. But now they want to call them non-citizens. Just sleazy people. Gross. Okay, let me get to Killian in Boston, Massachusetts. He wants to talk about some stuff that I'm not that familiar with. But Killian, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing well.
What's up?
Yeah, one of the last callers on Jesse's show brought up the inflation question and saying we're all going to have to pay for it in the end. But I don't think he was familiar with the petrodollar scheme we got, or the petrodollar scam, I would say, on the rest of the world, where we export our inflation to the rest of the world.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, pretty much. We have an agreement with all these Middle Eastern countries that are majority oil producers that they are only allowed to sell their oil in dollars. So all these countries that want to buy oil from them, they have to have dollars. So it creates this artificial, demand for dollars.
And
so
then that kind of traps us in globalism because we have to maintain those agreements with those people, huh?
Yeah, and if any countries get out of line, like Saddam Hussein did in Iraq, where he said he was going to start selling his oil in euros, we invade them and destroy their country.
Wow.
So pretty much, if we print up money, instead of feeling the inflation here domestically, we export inflation to the rest of the world.
Yeah. That's terrible.
And it is. But, I mean, it kind of works out for us because the government can print up money, do what it wants, and we don't really feel the effects of it.
Right. But it's based on, like, falsehood, essentially.
Yeah, it's very deceptive.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Gaddafi in Libya. He wanted to sell his oil for gold, so we killed him.
Is that true? Those things took place and that's why we did that?
Yeah, it's all based on money.
But we claimed that it was over something else, right? America,
well, yeah,
the American government.
They always give some other explanation. Oh, he's an evil dictator,
right,
killing his people.
Yeah,
or
very
had the weapons of mass destruction, and this and that.
Like Twitter,
they never come out and blatantly say what it's for.
Right, like Twitter, very selectively enforced.
Well, I mean, it's not selective. I mean, they pretty much know, like, if you stop only selling your oil in dollars, we're going to come invade you. Yeah. I mean, that's why we're the world police, you know?
Interesting, man.
But yeah, it's interesting that already, like, what is it, day 2 or 3 of Biden, they're already sending a military convoy to northern Syria. They're already sending a bunch of troops over to Iraq because they had the suicide bomb over there in Iraq a couple days ago.
Yeah. I heard that there was stuff going on, major testing and bold stuff with regard to Iran, too. Iran was testing their stuff.
The thing with Iran is that a lot of the oil comes through the Straits of Hormuz, which is that small little channel between Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Yeah.
I remember I was in the Navy. We used to go through there, and we'd always be on full alert. But the reason why they want to take out Syria is because they want to create a gas pipeline from Iraq to the Mediterranean so they can bypass the Straits of Hormuz and basically take away all of Iran's strategic power.
Yeah. Crazy.
And the reason, yeah. So, yeah, basically, Joe Biden's basically leftist version of George Bush. He's going to get us into more wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I was thinking about that, you know. I was thinking that with all of these things, like these confrontations and these conflicts, before they become wars, right? They are they have to be handled by somebody who's a man. And I think that Trump is more of a man and more able to handle these things without them coming to war. Whereas I don't see Joe Biden as being, one, caring about the troops or the country or what's right, and two, being even competent to, or even wanting to stave off unnecessary war and all that stuff. He's going to get right into it. Obama was killing off a bunch of our soldiers, right? I mean, not him personally, but his policies were killing even way more than George W. Bush, is what I heard in certain areas like Afghanistan.
They'll never say it publicly, but they honestly despise our soldiers because it's mostly white Christian men.
Yeah. I mean, somebody came out and said it recently. A Democrat said that about our National Guard, saying, oh, we have to be careful because they may try to take out Biden, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They've come out and said
that's why
that.
they're all sleeping in the parking garage right now.
Yep.
Did you hear Trump came out and said that they could all stay in his Trump hotel for free?
Yeah, I did hear that. That's nice. And there was that guy, Madison Cawthorn, who, in my opinion, he's a total rhino, 24-year-old guy with a wheelchair. Came out and brought some pizza to them and said, oh, they can sleep in his office if they want. So.
Oh, yeah. Andrea Cortez, she said that they could sleep on her couch and she'd stock up on snacks.
Oh, gosh. It's just posturing. These people don't care about what's right. I mean, I think that Trump does. And Cawthorn might.
Yeah, no.
Cawthorn might a little, but.
Well, these wars in the Middle East aren't really meant to be won. I mean, it's like an industry.
That's what I've heard.
Secretary of Defense, he's an ex-board member for Raytheon.
A man.
Do you think he's going to be going to war to try to win it, or do you think he's going to go just to, like, get the government to pay for a bunch of missiles?
A man, before I knew much about politics or was that into it, I heard a man say that politicians have been fighting wars, and that's why we haven't been winning them. They haven't been fighting them. They've been in charge of them.
Since Napoleon, all wars are bankers' wars.
Okay.
World War I was based on banking and finance. World War II was based on banking and finance. That's the reason why Hitler is so demonized, is because he kicked out all the bankers.
He was like a Andrew Jackson in that way?
Yeah, and a lot of people say that Andrew Jackson was like the successful version of an American Hitler.
Because he was anti-central banking.
Yeah, and he kicked out all the Indians.
Okay. Interesting.
The savages.
Right. Interesting, man. I wasn't aware of the dollars requirement for selling oil in the Middle East.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
I appreciate it, man.
Basically what keeps our economy going is it's like the old saying in the Civil War, cotton is king. I mean, the dollar is printed with cotton.
Yeah.
Cotton is still king.
Is that true anymore? Is it still made with cotton?
Yes. Yeah, it's not strictly paper.
I know it's tough to tear.
Like you can wash it and stuff, you know?
Yeah. Wow. All right, Killian, appreciate the tip. Long time no hear. Happy New Year to you if it's been that long. I don't know. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, have a good weekend. I don't know if do you catch Church with Jesse Lee Peterson on Sundays?
Yeah, I do.
Nice. Appreciate you, man. Hope everything is well in Boston.
Well, I'm not in Boston exactly, but.
Oh, okay. Boston area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Let me get to Rick in Hampton, Virginia. Speaking of oil, he wants to talk about the Biden ban on or halting of the Keystone Pipeline thing. Rick, how are you doing?
My brother James of the Hake Report News. What's going on, my brother? Love you guys. God bless y'all. Y'all have a great weekend, man.
Thank you. Going well. What's up?
Wow. You know, why is President Biden against the Keystone Pipeline so bad, man?
Well, he's basically Obama Part 2 in my mind with regard to this type of thing. You know, let's see. Experts, according to the Epic Times. Oh no, Revolver News. Thousands of blue-collar men lose their jobs as Biden shuts down the Keystone XL pipeline. And we heard during the Obama administration, and maybe during Trump a little, the Indian land owners, you know, the Indian land saying this is sacred stuff and you can't be building your pipeline through our land. And environmentalists were saying, no, this is bad. And it's basically everything that the liberals are for, which is against what's good for America and what's good for workers and stuff. So it seems like the Keystone XL pipeline, which Obama was against, is on hold again. And I think that was one of the early things that President Trump brought back was work on it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that it's not like done yet or whatever. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that thing works.
You know, even though, because I don't understand. I know what it's supposed to, help us become energy dependent on Middle Eastern oil,
Yeah, we were, from what I heard, we were pretty much energy independent, if not outright energy independent in America, because we made enough oil to maintain ourselves. But that's not the case anymore.
And I don't know what levels are against oil for. Really, oil does the environment. Look, when China and them have an accident, they go and see what happened, what went wrong, fix it, and don't do it again. They keep drilling.
Right. Yeah.
And
no, these people are fake. Trump calls himself an environmentalist, but he's the kind that's pro-America. And I think of Trump as being kind of feminist, but he's not anti-man so much as these sleazy people are, And
right.
And who? It's so ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Nervous Nancy Pelosi saying they want dirty water and dirty air and dirty this and that. They're so phony. They're the ones who don't care about the country. They let the homelessness get out of control and the illegal aliens get out of control and all kinds of corruption. And yes, there's a whole lot of rhinos who allow that stuff too. But we're not the ones for the big businesses. They're the ones for big businesses shutting down small businesses through being in bed with the government and making all these fake policies like $15 an hour minimum wage and all these different regulations. Trump was deregulating, and that was allowing businesses to come back, and now they're going the opposite direction, the wrong direction. To be expected.
When it comes to the minimum wage, the way you set the minimum wage, just like somebody offer a job that they say they're only paying $10 an hour. When don't nobody apply for that job, he gonna be forced to raise the salary.
Right.
And,
yep.
And when you make somebody raise the salary, they may not can't even afford to pay nobody at that time.
Yeah, exactly. If they can pay less, they will pay less. But if somebody else can pop up, another business, similar business can spring up with the opportunity and pay a little more, then the wages are naturally going to pay more. You're going to be paid what you're worth rather than have this artificial floor where everybody gets money for doing nothing, just making money worth less and making people worth less.
You go get 5 children, go have 5 kids, and you work at a starter job. I just call them starter jobs like McDonald's or just college jobs. And you gonna raise 5 kids on that? You don't have any brains. You can't raise 5 kids on that job.
That's a total scam. Yeah, no, it's a complete scam. It used to be the McDonald's people and the gas station people would be either old folks or the young people, teenagers, people who are still in high school. And now it's like mothers and stuff like that and adult men. How can you, it's like it's a mess. And they allowed all this immigration unchecked, both legal and illegal. They're not for what's right. They're not for the people.
And I get sick of hearing people talk, let's start the healing.
I know.
No, get on my nerves with that.
Yep. Very true. And by the way, Biden also got us back into the Paris Climate Accord that Barack Obama first got us into. And the Paris Climate Accord was basically this globalist thing to tax American businesses that put out carbon, supposedly, right? Isn't this the carbon tax type thing? The carbon tax, when you build something and in the process of building it, you're using energy or you're using carbon or putting carbon into the air or something like that, right? And so they're not going to stop that. They're just going to tax you for it. And those taxes are money that go to this organization that doesn't do anything but push globalist socialism and feminism and LGBTQIA stuff and all that madness. They're never the decent people. And they hire all these phony actors and celebrities and ex-vice president, that disgraceful guy who got fat, Al Gore, and all these people acting like they care about the environment.
Yeah,
and they have a Leonardo. Isn't Leonardo DiCaprio pushing that stuff too? He was a few years ago, I think. Just embarrassing. Makes me lose all respect for these people, which I guess that's fine.
Never lie.
Yeah. But it's going to have experts warn, according to the Epoch Times, and these are experts who are actually right, I think. They warn of devastating economic impact of rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. There was a guy who was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show fairly recently, within the past couple of years. He's Indian, like from India. Not Dinesh D'Souza, but there's another guy who was trying to run against Pocahontas. And he's a doctor, and I'm blanking on his name, but he has some Indian name. But he exposed just basically what the total scam is with regard to this Paris Climate Accord and carbon credits and carbon taxes and all that madness. So these people are phony. And Joe Biden doesn't have a clue, except to be evil.
Yeah, and lead us socialism, pretty much.
Yep. Yeah. Rick, it's good to hear from you.
You too, man. I'll be listening to the Hake Report every day.
Nice. Appreciate it.
Hey, look, guys, and keep up the hard work there, James.
All right. You too. Take care, Rick.
Okay.
All right. Joe in Phoenix, Arizona, wants to comment on the Paris Climate Accord. Joe, how are you doing?
Good morning, James.
Hey.
You don't need to worry about the Paris Accord. It's all voluntary. There's nothing binding, and only any forced taxes on it. There's nothing binding about the Paris Accord. It's just voluntary. That's all it is.
That's how these things start out. You know, it's kind of like Barack Obama started this anti-discrimination stuff with transgenders in the federal government. Oh, but it doesn't affect the private market. But pretty quickly, the private markets started coming in with this anti-discrimination, meaning special treatment for these deluded people who think that they're transgender. So this stuff starts out as voluntary and stuff like that, but it's not as benevolent or benign as you're thinking. These people don't have what's right at heart. Do you think that they have what's right at heart?
That's an opinion. I don't think it's backed by any facts, but right now, at least it's voluntary, so you don't need to worry about any taxes, killing business, or anything else. It's all
Do
voluntary.
you think that they have what's right at heart? It's not an opinion. It's based in reality.
Well, James, you don't believe in climate change, and I think the science is pretty clear on that.
Do you answer the question, Joe? Do you think that these people have what's right at heart?
James, you don't believe in climate change. I do. That's the answer.
Answer the question, Joe. Do you think these people have what's right at heart?
You don't believe in climate change. I do.
Answer the question, Joe. Do you think these people have what's right at heart?
James, I've answered it 3 times.
You have not answered it whatsoever. You have not answered it whatsoever.
I've answered 3 times already.
You know you have not.
You don't want to.
Nope, you're a dishonest snake. A total snake. And this is supposed to be, by the way, a black conservative. and he cares about the kids.
20-plus year record with the GOP impacts here.
And you can't even answer the question because you know that these people aren't for what's right.
So, James, you don't think that climate change is real, right?
I don't know. But the point is, these people don't have what's right at heart. They're not the ones to institute the correct measures on what to do about it. Paris, give me a break. Obama, give me a break. Biden, give me a break, Joe. You're a dishonest person. And you can't even answer the question. And you're pretending that it's up for opinion. Right and wrong. Hey, Joe, you think right and wrong is up for opinion?
Everyone is wrong but you, right?
Do you think that right and wrong is up for opinion?
It's in the Paris Accord. The Paris Accord, it just means it was signed in Paris. That's all it means.
You can't answer you're dodging. You're shucking and jiving. Keep tap dancing.
James, you are talking over me because you know you don't have the facts, and I do.
No, you don't.
Sure I do.
You're
James,
dodging. You're
why
completely
is it called
dodging the moral question.
Why is it called the Paris Accord? Answer the question. Why is it called?
No,
that?
you're skipping my question. Why do you think? Why do you think that morality is a matter of opinion?
Nothing to do with morality. It's about climate change. Period.
No, it's not. It's about
it is.
globalist socialism.
It really isn't.
Yes, it really is.
Globalist. And
You don't believe in right and wrong, Joe.
Not mandatory.
You're a fake Christian.
It is voluntary.
A fake
It is
Christian.
voluntary. Period.
A phony.
James, you can attack
Are you
me
a
and call me
Fed?
names all you want to, but you don't have the facts, and I do.
No,
That's
you
the
don't.
bottom line.
No, you don't, because you don't even want to acknowledge that right and wrong exists.
You didn't know that. I thought it was voluntary. You thought it was a tax. No, it's voluntary.
No, nuh-uh, Joe.
Yeah, it is.
No, you don't believe in right and wrong. You didn't even want to acknowledge that Joe Biden,
Climate change. Science is clear on it, James. So
Joe
you can
Biden
attack me all you want to.
and Barack Obama are evil. They don't have the best interests of America or the world at
Now
heart.
you're trying to pivot. And I'm
No,
making
you're the
evil
one
of
pivoting.
Obama at all.
You're the one pivoting. Did I not ask? Do you believe that these people have the best interests of America at heart, have what's right at heart? And you refuse to answer the question ever.
I answered it 3 times.
You
It's
did
about
not answer it.
climate change.
What's the answer? It's a yes or no question.
Period.
It's a yes or no question, Joe.
Period.
It's a yes or no question, Joe.
You can attack me all you want to. It's about climate change, and you don't even know.
No, it's not even about climate change.
It was signed in Paris, and
It's
every
not even
country
about
on the
climate
planet
change,
is wrong,
Joe.
Except you, right? Everybody else is wrong except you, right? Right, James?
You're dodging.
No, answer the question. Everybody.
I don't
else
have to
on the
answer
planet
any
is
question that you don't, because you don't even answer my questions.
wrong.
I
Answer
have
it 3
somebody who
times.
wants to respond to you because you're a sleazy snake and you refuse to answer the question. But let me bring in Dana from South Carolina.
All
You want to talk to Dana?
You don't know the facts, and I do.
What's that, Nick? Dana from South Dakota. Dana from South Dakota wants to talk to Joe. Oh, I said South Carolina. Dana, what do you say to Joe?
Okay, Joe, you don't speak for everyone. That is so ridiculous. And by the way, you probably better know me as Dark Side. I remember you. I don't know if you remember me.
This is Dark Side of the Bear. What?
It's in the YouTube chat. Anyways, as far as the climate change goes, no. The whole 99% of scientists, it's 99% of 100 scientists who are all bot. So, yeah, 99% of bot scientists agree that climate change, climate change has been happening since the history of the Earth. Explain the Precambrian era. Explain all these things that have happened, that the weather has drastically, we have patterns of Earth climate way back in the past that are similar to what's happening now. First, it was, what was it? It was global cooling. Now it's global warming. Which one is it?
Yep. No,
Okay,
Joe doesn't care about reality. This is the
That's
same
the
guy,
reality.
Dana. This is the same guy who voted for Obama twice, and he's a black conservative.
know.
He thinks Obama was a
He's
great
not-
president and Trump was horrible.
Because the
I know.
facts say so. So, Dana.
The facts, those are the facts.
Okay, Dana,
That is the fact.
Disregard James' lame attacks on me and just listen to the facts now. It's not just 100 scientists. It's a global community, period.
Yeah,
what
the
you're talking
globalist
about when you
community,
said
exactly.
When you said, globalist, yeah, great. But the globalist community isn't even about climate change. That's the funniest part
You're
about
hung up on the
it.
word global. I'm talking
The
about scientists all
globalist
over
cause
the world.
isn't
Not
about
just
climate
100
change. They just
scientists
push
that
it.
are bots. Don't
They're
prove that,
actually
Dana.
about uniting the globe
I
and
know.
making us all one giant economy.
A bunch of
That's what
so-called
globalism
scientists
is.
paid by the government.
You're not even talking about
No
science,
proof of that,
Joe.
Dana. None.
That's not what globalism is. No, it has nothing to
And
do
then
with
the-
climate change.
And then Dana,
Globalist, yeah,
and
they
also
push it.
the
because it's control.
the IPCC,
So
the
every
International
scientist
Panel.
on the
Hold on,
planet
Joe.
is wrong.
Hold on, Joe. You've been
Right?
babbling. The IPCC.
No.
They
No, you're talking to me, James.
I put him on hold. The IPCC, as I recall, the International Panel on Climate Change Committee, whatever they call them, they're like colluding to censor dissent. There are many dissenting
Exactly.
scientists who are quite
That's
sane,
what true globalism is.
and
it's
it's just like what happened with Galileo. It was from what I hear, right? Galileo said, "Oh, the sun. We actually revolve around the sun, not the other way around." And he was excommunicated, just like with the Paris climate
Yes,
accord
heretics.
people.
It was heretics and shit at the time, but excuse part of my French.
Yeah.
But they were religious at the time. That's the funny part. Is it's kind of flipped.
Same thing now.
It's gone from the religious sect to now it's all the socialists.
They believe
and
in
the communists
science.
pushing it.
Marxism is a fake religion, and that's what
science
Joe
has
is.
become a religion.
Yep.
Science
Joe-
has become a religion.
Joe has a fake
They got
religion.
fanatics like Joe.
Yep. Intellectualism. They think they're
That's
smarter
right.
than God.
That's true. You don't speak for everybody, and you don't know everything, Joe. Especially not when it comes to science. Why don't you stick to your shabby law?
It's simple. And you guys can babble about all your
Right and wrong is simple, Joe. Right and
it
wrong is simple.
You're the only one not getting it, Joe.
You're a coward with a hold button. That's all
Oh,
you are. You're a
Joe. Oh,
coward.
poor Joe.
All right, thank you,
your butt
Dana.
hurt.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
have a good one. Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Attack me all you want to. The facts stand on their own. Facts are stubborn. Things.
You don't believe in truth, Joe. You're a phony.
James,
You don't even
attacking all
think
you want
you don't even think that Jesse Lee Peterson is a real pastor. Talk about a
he's not.
phony. See?
he's a snake oil salesman that pleases all you idiots for money and then runs away with it.
Yep.
That's who he is.
Keep on burying yourself. You're burying yourself. He hung up. Oh, what a mess. So, rejoining the Paris, this is from the Epoch Times, written by Bowen Xiao. Rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, as it stands now, will have a devastating economic consequences for the United States, with little actual environmental benefit, according to experts. And some experts you cannot believe. I wonder about these ones. Maybe you can. So-called President Joe Biden on January 20th signed an executive order to rejoin the Global Pact as one of his first major moves as president, which Trump got out. Who are you going to trust? Obama Biden or President Trump? Or neither, right? That's possible. According to the United Nations, developed countries under the agreement should take the lead in providing financial assistance to countries that are less endowed and more vulnerable, while also encouraging voluntary contributions by other countries. Voluntary to whom? Do these businesses get to voluntarily donate? Or is it the country gets to volunteer these businesses to pay taxes? I wonder. Voluntary is a loaded word when it comes to all this stuff. While well-intentioned, the agreement was flawed economically and environmentally from the get-go, according to Nicholas Loris, deputy director of the Thomas A. Rowe Institute for Economic Policy Studies at Heritage Foundation. It will be very costly for Americans, families, and businesses because 80% of our energy needs are met through carbon-emitting conventional fuels, Loris told the Epoch Times. Regulating them and subsidizing alternatives is going to harm American families and taxpayers. President Obama did that like crazy. Remember, he gave all kinds of money to some solar company or two or few that just outright failed. Ridiculous. There is no teeth to the Paris Climate Accords. Developing countries are getting a free pass in terms of their emissions. It's likely the Paris Climate Accord is not going to reach its intended goal. Regulating these businesses and subsidizing alternatives going to harm American taxpayers and families. They're pretending that they can limit the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius per year, right? I guess. To 1.5 degrees Celsius. Playing God. Devastating economic costs, essential zero environmental benefits. But he thinks it's the science. Let me get to Freddy in New Mexico. Freddy, how are you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm fine as well. What's up?
I should say doing well, since no man is good.
Right.
But
you can't be doing good, right? Can't you do good? But that means you're doing moral good. That implies you're doing moral good. If you're doing well...
Yeah. I'll just leave it at I'm doing well, because I don't know if I'm doing moral good.
Nice.
but just with the Paris, with this agreement,
Yep.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be enough anyway. But it doesn't hurt if we move to renewable energy. And
what's that mean? Renewable energy?
To, like solar, wind, stuff like that. I know. I'm not saying it's not going to be cheap and have some issues with it, but if we can retrain coal, like nuclear is cool too, but it's just got like a very long shelf life, man. That stuff's going to outlive humanity more than likely,
So it's more dangerous because it sticks around. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like there are good benefits to nuclear for sure, but I mean it's going to be around for long after we're gone, So
right. Yep.
There's that issue. But I mean, we're never going to run out of the sun or wind or ocean, or not for a long time anyway. And what does it hurt to limit pollution? I mean, I agree that climate goes through natural cycles.
You're talking about pollution,
sure,
which is something totally different, though. You're talking about pollution. They're acting like any CO2 is bad. They're pretending that any CO2 being released from our production is bad. That's not pollution necessarily.
Okay,
So
but
they're going way further than just what you're talking about. You're talking about pollution, right? Oh, like this smokestack is putting smoke and smog in the air. That's pollution. And that's how they got
carbon. I mean, carbon emissions
is not
too from like
pollution.
big factories and in big cities too. Like all the cars and buses and stuff. If we could limit our footprint in that way, I don't see what the harm is. I mean, there have been natural cycles of climate change. There's no doubt about it.
You're falling for their scam, though. They're pretending to be reasonable, and they're giving you something that sounds like it's reasonable. Did you know that smog today in Los Angeles is way better than it was in the 90s or 80s or 70s? Smog today in Los Angeles is way down. It used to be, I remember playing basketball in the as a kid in the 80s and 90s in 3 p.m. whatever, 2 p.m., 3 p.m. and you get smog. You can't breathe in deeply without like coughing. And now that like doesn't it barely exists. There are kids who don't even know the feeling. Well, I mean, they do get, some of them, a lot of the kids nowadays get asthma.
Right.
But that's something different.
Yeah.
That's not smog related necessarily. And so they have been getting better with all that stuff.
And that's good. That's good. We should be striving to get even better.
But we should be having leaders and moral people. By leaders, I mean elected officials, right? They're not actual leaders. Mm-hmm. We should have people like Trump in charge. And we should have men be men again. Because the people who are putting in these policies are deceivers. They're sleazy liars. Joe Biden, Barack Obama, who's that Canadian guy? Trudeau. And even that guy who has that woman who's like 30 years older than him. And he was 15 when he met her. She was his teacher. Macron? Yeah, Macron, Emmanuel Macron. I mean, I like him because he likes Trump, but I think he's a total evil person. And these are not trustworthy people to do what's right. I mean, even the scientists, the so-called scientists, who are raised in these liberal things and they're indoctrinated to believe in catastrophic man-made climate change and it's real and the science is settled. These are deceivers, and their jobs depend on government support because they don't bring real value. They don't bring in value that normal people can plainly see. They rely on scaremongering and pretending that, oh, this is going to happen unless we do this or that. And most of the time when the this or that they propose have nothing to do with cleaning up the environment or being actually responsible. Christians are the ones who are real Christians, and real men are the ones to be looking to for solving these problems, not these phonies. So that's my reasoning for attacking all this climate change hype. Because look at the people hyping it. It's the liberal media who lie endlessly. That's why I fight back against that stuff.
No, I mean, that's cool. That's your take, but
yeah,
I mean, it's not controversial. It's not. I mean, we're the only country who has a group of the population who doesn't believe that it's happening.
That's because that's a good thing. Because we're more independent minded. Just because we're the only ones who, and I don't even know if that's true what you're saying. Just because we're the only ones who have a group who doesn't believe that. That indicates that we're more free than the rest of the world. Because look around at the rest of the world. They're a bunch of scumbag, brainwashed socialists, globalists, suckers.
That's one way to look at it.
I bet you there's a whole lot of people who don't fall for that. And so you've kind of bought into this, because of consensus, it must be true. But you don't actually know that.
But the science, there is science behind all this.
And did you know, Freddy? No, you mean you say there's science behind this, but that's very vague. It doesn't mean anything. China destroys the environment way more than any other country, probably. Maybe India too, but
of course they do.
But America is not a major offender with regard to messing up the environment. And the people who are in bed with the government, and they're the very ones pretending to be for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you that we're not the biggest one or the only one.
Do you trust?
I would agree
do you trust
China
these sleazy people that I've named off?
Not really. No, I don't trust them. But I don't trust hardly any of the politicians. I don't trust Trump either.
You didn't vote for Trump, huh?
So
we've talked before about this, have we?
Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations.
I don't really remember what your reasoning was.
I did not vote for Trump.
Either time?
Either time, no.
Who did you vote for, if you don't mind my asking?
First time it was Gary Johnson.
Oh gosh.
Second time, right? But it's just because I was from New Mexico, man. I didn't like Hillary either, so. And I didn't like Biden. I voted for Bernie in the primary, and after that, I was just kind of the way that the establishment got behind Biden was just it totally left a bad taste in my mouth. So,
how did you start listening to Jesse's show and my show? I forget. I've asked you, I'm sure, a couple of times.
No, man. I don't know. I came across it. I watch. I don't really watch the main TV, mainstream media and stuff. So I hear. I just catch you guys. I catch. I don't know, like Humanist Report sometimes. Just different things from all different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I started with Jesse Lee because he's just entertaining as hell, man. He's just got a personality that even if you don't agree with him, you can't help but like the dude. You know what I mean? He's just. I mean, I don't agree with him on a lot of things, and I do agree with him on some things, but...
What's one thing you agree with him on? What's one big thing you agree with him on?
I agree with him about the nasty mamas, for sure, that's like their sons.
Yeah. How old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
35.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're in that same... Me and you are close in age, I think, if I was guessing.
Right.
So, but yeah, man, I mean, I don't know.
Are you Hispanic?
Yeah, I'm a half breed.
Half white, half Hispanic, something like that?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Well, interesting.
But yeah, man, I mean, we're not the only offenders of this, for sure. I don't even think we're the biggest ones. But I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying about having half a group or whatever of the country that, you know, maybe we're not sheep or whatever, or that side's not sheep.
I think they're going to find sheep, as you call them, in every aspect, in every group, including the Trump supporters. I mean, some of them got caught up in the Capitol and thought, hey, he would love this. Trump would love this. Baked Alaska.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't think it's a bad idea to try to make progress in that way. I mean, there are natural cycles of climate, but to think that humanity putting all this stuff in the air, you know, China and India included, and that it's not having a consequence, I mean, it just kind of, that doesn't even pass the eye test or the smell test to me, you know, like, of course, there's got to be stuff. If we're putting this harmful thing into the atmosphere.
Are you a Christian?
Not really, no. Not a practicing one, I guess.
Yeah.
My wife and son are, but I don't really partake.
Your wife and son are, but you aren't? That's so common, huh? The man is not really falling for it. And the woman is training the child to be all into it. What a mess. There are reports that these wind turbines are killing birds, and I heard they cause cancer too.
Yeah.
But what do we really know? You talk about. I'm joking around, but they do kill birds. Like it's like crazy. I've heard about that stuff, and I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
You know, there's all kinds of stuff that unintended consequences, or sometimes intended consequences, but just that they didn't tell you. Like, I mean, you're the type of guy who would have fallen for the 1965 Immigration Act that said it's not really going to change the makeup of the country. And then sure enough, the makeup of the country is totally changed. And so is the ideology to be against free speech, against freedom, against whites and Christians, and just off the deep end liberal. I mean, it's ridiculous, the change that has come about. In part, it's not completely due to the immigration thing, but that definitely didn't help because we imported all these people who are brainwashed socialists, and then they are brought up in resentment towards whites and Christians and men, the suckers. So, I'm trying to say that don't be a sucker for this stuff. Question it. Look into the, if you're into it, look into what the Heritage Foundation, which they're no angels either. I don't like Heritage. They have that black woman in charge of them, pretending that racism is real. But there are honest and sane and science-minded people who are putting out alternative facts that may bring a little bit more of the real picture of what's going on, if you're so interested. But so much of this stuff is so unknowable. They exploit stuff that you can't know. They exploit stuff that sounds like it makes sense, and so you assume that they're right. And because everybody thinks that it's true, except for these goofy conservatives, then, it must be true. And all these goofy conservatives are just idiots. But look at how they exploit the unknowable. You can't know if somebody's so-called racist in their mind, but yet they say, oh, George Floyd was an example of racism. They don't have a clue what was going on in that officer's mind who had his knee on the neck. They just exploit stuff that you can't know and pretend and keep you back on your heels, going outside of your area of expertise, and just by intimidation, they get everybody to agree and repetition. So don't be a sucker, Freddy.
I hear you, man. With the George Floyd thing, no one knows what was going through the cop's mind. I mean, I don't even know if there was a history of any issues with that cop or whatever, but I think the reason why maybe not all of them, but I mean, the reason why it looked bad to some people is just because it was another brother getting, you know what I mean? I mean, that's just.
And they have this, they're trained to have this resentment and suspicion of whites. Anytime a white does anything that looks like it's hurting the black, and it looked like he was hurting the black, right, with his knee on the neck, then they're going to assume the worst, and it's their hatred towards the whites. It's not the whites' hatred towards them. So it's crazy. Anyway, man, nice talking with you. We'll talk again, Freddy.
Yeah.
By the way, do you ever catch Church with Jesse Lee Peterson?
I actually do, man. I listen whenever I can because I work on Sundays, so I throw in my earbuds and usually listen. That's usually when I listen to you guys too. The most. I mean, because I'm at work. Whenever I'm at work, I'm there for all 5 hours of your guys' show.
That's cool, man.
Combined, so I throw them in and listen. But yeah, definitely every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays for the most part, I'm listening to all 5 hours, and then on Thursdays and Fridays, I usually catch an hour and a half to 2 hours of Jesse, and I usually am around for all of yours. So
nice, man. Appreciate that, Freddie. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care.
You too. We'll talk. He mentioned the Humanist Report, and I think that guy interviewed Jesse Lee Peterson, the Humanist Report. I think he's like a young atheist guy. He has a picture that makes him look all tough, but then when you hear his voice, it's all high-pitched. No offense, Humanist Report, man. But you look in your picture, it's like drawing of him, right? You look tougher than you sound or look in real life. I'm going to get back to calls shortly here. I do want to take a quick break, and I will get back right to it. I have Ken in New Jersey wants to comment on the mechanics of climate change. I had no idea we would be talking about this. Sometimes I'll get suckered into a debate over this. And as Joe indicated, I don't know about this stuff, but I don't believe it or necessarily disbelieve it. But I do know, I can sense like something screwy with these people's intentions. Anyway, guys, hang tight. We're well into hour 2, but in a couple of minutes, we'll finish up the rest of hour 2. Be right back.
Earl is out of Michigan.
Hold on. Woman, Jesus, you're the most ignorant, stupid, blindest fool I've ever seen in my life. Hey, what's up, baby? Hello, how you doing? Hold on.
Earl.
Oh, shut up. We just stupid.
Earl.
Woman, Jesus. Hold on, woman, Jesus. Hey, what's up, baby? Hello, how you doing? You're the most ignorant, stupid, blindest fool I've ever seen in my life. Oh, shut up. He's just stupid. Hold on, woman, Jesus.
Bye, Earl.
Shout out to DJ Hardmous for the Earl from Michigan remix. And shout out to Earl, man. You're a star. I think he likes that song. Earl and Jesse Lee Peterson. And yours truly, me saying, oh! It's been a while since I've had to say that. Let me get to Ken in New Jersey. Oh, first, Jib Jab gave a super chat on Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/The Hake Report. Says, bonus dears, amigo. I wish you and everybody at Bond a Mamma Mia Hola weekend. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for the support. Always nice to see you, man. King Alpha Nerd says, Maze speaks as fast as Busta Rhymes and Eminem from Rap God. Geez, slow down, Roadrunner. Yeah, that's why Tim from Louisiana, also known as Past, Present, Future, haven't seen him around in a while, calls her Motormouth Maze. Motormouth Maze. I don't know if she exactly takes kindly to it, but slow down, Maze, and you won't be called Motormouth Maze. Hot Computer Smell with a super chat on streamlabs.com/The Hake Report says, will you support the effort to recall Gavin Newsom? The petition has been extended until March, so the clock is ticking, and they almost have enough signatures to trigger a special election. Nice. Yeah. I signed it. I was up in Big Bear, actually, and there were some conservative ladies saying, hey, you want to sign this recall Gavin Newsom thing? And yes, I did. I signed it. And that was several months back. I saw them circulating that recall Gavin Newsom petition at some of these protests against the shutdowns. These communist shutdowns, all in the name of COVID. You don't believe COVID is real. That's not what I said. But it's the communist shutdown. All in the name of COVID, pretending. These people don't have real solutions. They're fakes. So let me get to Ken in New Jersey. Comment on this climate change mess. Ken, how are you doing?
Okay, I'm doing fine.
Thank you for holding.
Yeah. I was a mechanic, a truck mechanic for many years. Okay, I worked on Mack engines, Cummins engines, Detroit diesels, cars, pickup trucks, gasoline motors, diesels, and all that stuff.
Nice.
And I remember, like, when I was around 1968, 1967, and I was working on cars, and they had the pollution pumps on them because we're having global cooling. So they put these pollution pumps on the cars. They came out with the catalytic converters, and the catalytic converter is like a muffler, but only it's made out of precious metals that retain heat.
Yeah.
So they get very, very hot. So it acts like a furnace, so that when the exhaust comes through this furnace, it kills all the pollution that comes out of the tailpipe.
Okay.
So if we had global cooling and we put these catalytic converters and pollution pumps on cars,
yeah.
So what we should do now is to take off the catalytic converters, right? Take off all the pollution stuff, and then the temperature will come down and we won't have global warming. We'll get global cooling again.
Right.
Right?
That's why I love older people, boomers and older people, because they don't fall for this stuff as much. They've been around and seen these people phoniness.
I used to take the pollution pumps off the vehicles because they gave us so much trouble because they would break down.
Yep.
The cars got stinky mileage.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's better, to have good mileage or terrible mileage? Okay. If you take a pollution pump off a car, right, and you were getting, say, 15 miles to the gallon, and all of a sudden you take the pollution pump off, and now you're getting 22 miles to the gallon.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What What is the savings?
Exactly.
You're going backwards.
Yep. That's so common, too. These regulations, they aren't based on, so often, they're not based on something that's real or something that's reasonable. I remember over in, because I worked in the cabinet business, right? I would design cabinets, or not design them, but lay them out in a kitchen. And we had spray problems. In California, we have what's called, it's worse than the EPA, it's called the AQMD, Air Quality Management District, South Coast Air Quality Management District. And they would refuse to let us have many solids in our clear coat. So the clear coat, especially with our Mexican guy who was doing it, he didn't know how to do it so that it would stay on the cabinets. This stuff was flaking off of the cabinets inside of like a month or less.
Right.
Maybe he was doing it wrong, but with proper stuff, you can do a good job on a clear coat for a kitchen, and you don't have to spray again and again and again. But they do all kinds of weird stuff that isn't necessarily, and it's made by politicians who they study a little bit and then they think that they're experts.
Yeah.
This is a ghost gun. 25 caliber clip in half a second. It's ridiculous.
All of the bad stuff that happens to our country, it all starts in California.
Yeah.
And then it moves right over to New Jersey, which is a Democrat state.
Yeah.
And then we follow California.
It's ridiculous.
And then, and it's like, then we got the problem over here, and we try to solve the problems, me as a mechanic or whatever, try to solve the problems that they did.
Yeah.
They took all the diesel trucks, right? The Max and all internationals and everybody had to put on a special muffler.
Right.
And it turned this truck, this muffler, into a furnace, just like the catalytic converter. And it made the truck so much more expensive because of this device, this muffler. And you could be driving down the highway, okay, and if something happened to that muffler that wouldn't, to stop the pollution, the motor would shut off.
Wow.
Now you would be stranded someplace, have to get a tow truck to tow you in to find out what's wrong with this muffler system. Then years later, they found out that it really doesn't make a difference. Okay, so now you don't need this specific muffler on your truck anymore because the statistics that they had, it didn't work out that way.
It reminds me of masks. This mask mandate. They'll arrest you in some cases, right? They'll just go out, and it's pushed by female-minded people too, like women and female-minded males, pushing. Right. Oh, wear your mask. You're all alone. Nobody around you. You're walking way around people, giving them plenty of personal space, also known as social distancing. And they say, wear your mask. Put on your blanking mask. It's ridiculous. And they don't. And we're finding out that masks aren't necessarily working that well. You need to do double masks and stuff like that.
Yeah. I happened to be, when I was 2.5 years old, I got polio. Okay. And they didn't have anything like that then. It was an epidemic. It was a virus.
Yeah.
And when the virus wore itself out, by the time they came out with the vaccine, polio was just about gone.
Wow.
Okay? And then when I went to school, they were wondering whether to give me the polio vaccine or not because I already went through polio.
Right.
My own immune system killed it.
Wow.
And
that was debilitating to some kids, wasn't it? It would leave them.
I was lucky it just attacked my left leg, right? And I didn't let it stop me. I became a truck mechanic. I worked on diesels.
Yeah.
I fixed truck tires. I fixed tires that weighed as much as I did.
Nice. Yeah.
And I didn't let it stop me. That's why I can't get over this stuff on how people, are restricted because of this or that or whatever they're whether it's they're black or this or society stopping them. I didn't let it stop me.
Yeah, that's the American way. I mean, that's the manly way. That's the Christian way.
Right. I don't know anything because, I mean, I had it since I was 2.5 years old.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is to walk correctly.
Right.
If you tell me that I limp, I don't know that I limp. Because from 2.5 years old, you know, I never had two good legs.
Right. You just adjusted from as long as you can remember.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right. And so it's like, you know, who's stopping who? There's nobody stopping you.
Right.
If I could do it, then you could do it.
Yeah.
It gets me mad because I see people that are completely healthy.
Yeah, I know.
And they're doing nothing with their lives.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, I knew friends during the so-called financial crisis 10, 12, 13 years ago who were able-bodied men, could be working if they wanted to, but they opted to go on unemployment. It's ridiculous. It's a shame.
Right, because I actually used to own the trucking company, and I used to have to weed out drivers that came in. Okay, and a lot of them I would be able to tell after, you know, you interviewed so many people, you just get to know who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. You know?
Yep.
So you know right away, and the guy is saying, he says, well, I just want the job long enough so I can go back on unemployment.
Oh, man. That's terrible. Don't tell the guy who's interviewing you that.
Right.
Shameless.
He wants a job for me, but he only wants to work long enough so he can go back on unemployment.
Wow.
Right. And the bosses actually pay into the unemployment, not just the state.
Right. That's true. Yeah, it doesn't. I know that from experience because we had guys who they would do something wrong, they would get fired or they would quit or whatever, and then they would try to get on unemployment and we would get a call. And it was like we get dinged for something when a crummy employee did wrong. It's crazy.
Exactly. The companies pay into that just like the states pay into that.
Yeah.
If you're on unemployment for 2 years, we put into the money to put the boss puts into that unemployment just like the state does.
That's
so
part
the longer you stay on unemployment, the more money's coming out of my pocket too.
That's part of the corruption of America, the moral corruption of America. Yeah. I like your story, Ken. That's an example of better, not bitter. Better, not bitter. Nice.
Right. For years I did it. And then when I left there, I got a part-time job at Sears, you know, and then I did handyman work on the side.
Nice. That's cool, Ken. I respect you. I got to run. We'll talk again. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, God bless.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. That's nice. You can get this Better Not Bitter shirt from the Bond Teespring store. Rebuildingtheman.com/stores. Rebuildingtheman.com/stores. Come on, man, says, much respect to this caller. I'm a black truck driver. I never knew that there were black truck drivers until I started being a producer for the Jesse Lee Peterson show. Then we got Cordell and so many others, truck drivers, including blacks. Nice. And yet, remember that there was a incel who said, "Oh, I can't get a job because I'm white and I'm a male and I can't get girls, but I also can't get a job because I'm white and I'm here in Southern California." Well, come to find out, he didn't want to do truck driving because he thinks in 10 years it's going to go away, which it may well. But 10 years is a long career, right? Anyway, Alpha Boomers. Boring caller, says Blue Mazer. Aw, come on. Anyway, I appreciate it, Ken. Thank you, man. Let me get to Christina in Sacramento with more on the great First Lady, the real First Lady, Melania Trump. Christina, how are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, James. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So yesterday I'd called in and I made a remark about how appropriate Melania Trump was throughout the entire time that she served as the great First Lady of our nation.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful role model she was for young ladies in this country. We finally had a role model of eloquence and beauty and poise. And for being a support to her husband, not trying to take center stage. And then not long after that, two callers, I know one of them was Mays, and I believe the other one was Julian, brought up just derogatory statements about her, one of them being her past.
Right.
And then it came to me, I thought, who doesn't have a past?
Yep.
I mean,
hers was apparently on camera, and she didn't know better.
She didn't know any better.
Yeah.
She didn't know any better. It was part of the career she had, that career that one falls into. They have to be willing to take their clothes off.
Yep.
I don't agree with it, but that's what they choose. But it doesn't mean that they're still doing it.
Right.
They're not doing it anymore. And so,
in my mind, the vulgar people are the ones bringing that up. And the ones bringing up stuff that Trump said in 2005. They're the ones bringing that up. They're vulgar. He's perfectly appropriate throughout his presidency, too. Anyway.
That's how I see it. We look at today.
Yep.
If one wants to keep going back to the past, there's no human being on earth except for Jesus Christ himself, who was born the Son of God, who is not exempt from having a past. Everybody on earth has a past. They are all subject to it. Not even the callers, nobody, myself included, we're not exempt from it. It's not until we wake up. And so I don't look at what she did.
They even tried to bring up Jesus's past. They're like, isn't this a son of Mary or Joseph or whatever from Galilee whose family and friends we know? Who's this guy to say this or that? And so Jesus is like, a prophet is not welcome in his own town. Something like that.
Exactly. It's true. You know, and they didn't have cameras back then, so
right.
I'm sure he kicked dirt or did something, as a kid.
Yeah.
So that was my point. I thought, you can't. Everyone has a past. Everyone does. It's just, what are you doing today?
Very true. So, that's why you can't get held down by what people think of you or might think of you or your mistakes or sins or whatever you want to call them.
It's true, right? And we're just trying to justify our view when we do that, and it's extremely petty.
Right.
So,
it really is.
Yeah.
And it's embarrassing to hear grown adult men bring it up. But even like Mays, she's old enough to not be into like she's so pro-America. She's saying, oh, Melania is not American born. She's an immigrant.
What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? It has nothing to do with anything.
She respects America. These other ladies don't respect America. Remember
no, they don't.
Michelle Obama? Speaking of past, she said, for the first time in my adult life, I'm really proud of my country. When Barack won the nomination. And she's still like that. Yeah, exactly.
She's still not. She just said that, but she's not still. If anything, she's helped destroying our country.
Right.
With her little podcast, know. I think, God, people actually sit there and listen to her. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
I can't believe it. It's no different than listening to these ladies on The View. I think, wow, there's actually an audience to hear these witches.
Or those red table talks. Have you heard of those red table talks with Will Smith's family? The women in Will Smith's family, they're a piece of work. His mother-in-law, his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, and his daughter, just mess. And they're evil. Course. And
you know why? I think some people, they've got so much money, they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
And they feel so guilty, so they got to sit around pretending like they're benevolent, and they're not.
Right.
And the other thing, too, this whole Jada, why don't these women change? They have to hyphenate their names. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yep. Jada Smith.
Or they don't take
call it Jada Smith.
Yeah, exactly. They don't. When I hear these women that hyphenate their last name, I think that's it's horrible. Well, how is a kid going to be raised not having a last name? They're going to have all these names. It helps them have an identity if they can take the father's last name. That's the way I believe.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. But, even this Amy Coney Barrett lady, I wish she would just be Amy Barrett. Very simple.
Just leave it. And the way I see it, it would have been Ted Cruz that would have been the nominee or somebody like him. But because there was so little time, he had to find the most spotless woman that he could find so that she could hurry up and get through.
Yeah, I think that's the case too. And whatever. whatever, huh?
Yeah, she wouldn't have been there. Yeah, she wouldn't have been there. Honestly, it would have been somebody else, but they had to get somebody through that where they wouldn't come up with some fictitious person that said that they raped them when they were, 12 years old or something.
And in the long run, even though she's basically no good, in the long run, maybe it's not as bad as whatever Joe Biden's pick would have been,
Oh, exactly. That's exactly it. Yep. Oh, you got to work with what you got at some point.
I hate to give any credence to the rhinos, and I do consider her a bit of a rhino.
100%. And there was one other caller, James, that I was listening yesterday where he said that Trump should have been able to put himself out there to a point where he'd be willing to be assassinated. In my opinion, he did. He did put himself out there to that point.
Yeah.
At any point, he could have been assassinated. And at some point, we need to let people be human beings. And if we need Jesus Christ, we need to go to Jesus Christ. He did that. He sacrificed himself for us. That's enough.
And Jesus wasn't even rushing to get himself sacrificed. People,
exactly.
That
wasn't he cried tears of blood?
System of a Down with their atheistic or whatever they are. Didn't they call that a self-righteous suicide? They called it a self-righteous suicide. Back when I was in college, they came out with this song calling it a self-righteous suicide. But
that's the first time I've heard of that.
Yeah, no, but he didn't rush into that either. That's like playing God.
It's true, and he asked God specifically, if you could remove this cup from me, please do so.
Yeah.
But if it's your will, then let it be done. But he asked him to take it from him.
Yep.
So Jesus Christ himself. So it's like we cannot try and set all these other people up as our saviors. Donald Trump was not set to this earth to save us.
Yeah.
He's one man, for gosh sakes,
and
people.
And he fought like heaven.
He did. Very valiant. Very valiant at some point.
And I think he's still fighting. Or
I
still will fight.
So. Yeah, and my purpose on earth is not to come on earth and come to the defense of Melania Trump. That's not my purpose on life.
Yeah.
But it's just to see things for what they are. And so she did what she did in her past. Who doesn't have a past?
Yeah.
For he who has not sinned, let him cast the first stone, is the way I see it. But for her, that time there, she was an absolute, utter example of what women should be like in the home as well as on the public stage. Bravo to her.
Nice. Thank you, Christina. Yeah. Have a nice weekend.
God bless.
You too.
And you.
All right. Bye. The Texas Attorney General is threatening to sue the Biden administration over the illegal deportation freeze. Ken Paxton. Texas, stand up, please. The illegal deportation freeze is what he called it. Ken Paxton wrote a letter. Border states like Texas pay a particularly high price when the federal government fails to faithfully execute our country's immigration laws. This is what Arizona was going through during the Obama administration. Obama took office in 2009. In, I think, 2010, Arizona was a mess, and for decades, they've been wanting to deal with their immigration problem, illegal immigration problem especially, but legal too, probably. And they did their SB 1070 or whatever it was, I don't know the numbers, where they said, show us your papers, we need to deal with this thing, and have the local and state law enforcement help deal with this immigration problem, because the feds weren't doing anything. And then they got sued and said, you're doing what the feds are supposed to be doing. You're violating the Constitution. They violate the Constitution because they're selectively not enforcing what the Constitution says, which is protect ourselves from enemies, foreign and domestic, and invasion, and illegals. But Ken wrote, the federal government fails to faithfully execute our country's immigration laws. I won't tolerate unlawful acts from Joe Biden's administration. Today, I'm asking action. The Department of Homeland Security said the Biden administration would pause deportations for some immigrants for 100 days. Illegal immigrants, meaning illegal aliens. The pause will allow DHS to ensure its resources are dedicated to responding to the most pressing challenges the United States faces. They've been letting this get out of hand forever. They don't stand for what's right. Acting DHS secretary is a guy named David Pekoski. Pekoske. And he's going to review immigration enforcement policies and set interim policies for civil enforcement. They're not doing what's right. You can count on them not to do what's right and to do counterproductive things for politics and for evil, for power. What a mess. Let me get to how do you pronounce this? Ofa out of New Zealand. Ofa, first-time caller in New Zealand, wants to give his grade for President Trump. Earlier this week, I asked, what do you grade President Trump? Some gave an A, some gave an F, some gave a D, out of A, B, C, D, F. Is that universal? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Ofa, how are you doing? Thanks for calling.
Hola, buenos dias from New Zealand.
Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, I've been up all night. It's around 7:35 a.m. New Zealand time.
Wow, 7:35 a.m.
Yeah, I've been staying up ever since the morning because Jesse Lee's show starts at 3 a.m.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
but I just missed it. But I'm calling to rate Donald Trump here from New Zealand.
Yes.
So if I had to give him a rating, I'd give him a solid A.
Nice. And why?
Yeah. Just because the things he's done, like, that I've seen is, like, pretty good. But the only downside to that is I'd have to give the deep state and all the Democrats, like, a A+.
Yeah, because they were able to get rid of him. Is that why?
Yeah, not only that, but, like, they're able to, like, persuade everyone around the world, you know, to all hate Donald Trump and stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like pretty much like all the deep state did their job and they pretty much beat Trump.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. Yeah. How are things over there in New Zealand for you guys?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I heard you guys talking about the climate change. So here in New Zealand, so our Prime Minister just declared a climate change emergency just in December.
Wow. Is that Jacinda Ardern or something like that?
Yeah, Jacinda Ardern. She's like left wing.
Yeah, I'll say. She's the one who put on like a Muslim garb so that she could go into the mosque and mourn with the Muslims after the terror attack.
Yeah, she's like a good example of like the woman like showing love and stuff, so the men fall for her kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Ridiculous woman.
They're like it is real bad. But what doesn't make sense is like the climate here in New Zealand's like not that bad, and there was no warnings or anything, and then she just comes out and declares an emergency.
That's such a good point. And New Zealand is not a polluter. Isn't New Zealand very strict on their immigration so that you guys are not overpopulated whatsoever?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, why? But then I tend to think like it's just following like the bigger players like China and stuff, like with what they want, and then Joe Biden wanting like different climate rules and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's just more following the bigger players.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
They're just following in the footsteps because she is a socialist. I happen to know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And just with one question. So I'm a Mormon, right?
You're a Mormon?
Yeah. And
wow.
So when I was at church, the people at church, like Christians, they were like putting down Trump and stuff, and I just decided just to like just stay back and watch. You know what I mean? Like Jesse says.
Yeah. Just
like watch and like. Oh, in my head, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to, like, argue with them, right? But I just wanted to let them suffer and die. Was that the right thing?
You know, only you would know, or, you know, it's kind of, I'm not in this situation. There's a time to speak up and get into an argument, or at least a debate. You don't have to get into an argument, but get into a discussion with them. Or at least say your piece and maybe not even discuss it any further. But there are times to be quiet too. So I can't tell you whether you did the right thing or not. But just stay in the present, and I don't know if you're doing Jesse Lee Peterson's silent prayer, but the more you're seeking God, the more you'll be led by him, I would think. So you'll know when to speak and when not to, and you don't have to like worry about whether you did something right or not, because you're always like staying present. And if you do something wrong, you apologize, but keep going.
Yeah.
And not be traumatized by, oh, I spoke up and I got punished badly for it. It was the wrong time, or it was the right time. So that way you don't get traumatized by speaking up way too much or speaking up too little. I think you'll get wisdom as you go on. How old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
20 years old.
Nice age. How did you find the shows?
Oh, so my mate at work, he told me about Jesse Lee.
Yeah, nice.
Then I just started watching his funny moments and stuff, and then now I just watch him daily. Eh?
That's cool.
Yeah, but I tend to wear my Donald Trump hat like everywhere I go and stuff. Like I like it when people look at me, you know.
Yeah.
Because like they know not what they believe, because what they believe is like wrong and stuff. So
Yeah.
like whenever I go to university and stuff, I just wear it and just let everyone just think whatever they want. Eh?
So you're working and going to school right now?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Nice.
Yeah, it's real bad in university because they're wanting to do a protest, like using the students to protest for climate change.
Right.
I think it's like in 4 days they're using like, oh, there's like a climate change protest coming up.
Do stuff get violent ever over there? Do people get violent with you?
Barely ever. But I'm planning on going. But I'm planning on going with my Donald Trump hat and my American flag.
Nice. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Because that can be a light. If you act right and keep your wits about you, don't get sucker punched. I don't know if there is any Antifa. It sounds like there's not too bad. But or Black Lives Matter. But
it's alright because I'm like brown. So
okay.
Like, over here it's hard to like say I'm a racist because I'm black privileged.
Right.
Yeah. So it should be all good.
Yeah.
So cheers, Hake. Thank you.
Cool, man. Appreciate you, Ofa.
I'll catch you later.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. You can tell he's a Kiwi by his accent. Let me get to Chris, a first-time caller in Birmingham, Alabama. Nice city. Chris, what's up?
You're going to be able to tell I'm from Alabama by my accent as well.
Nice.
Anyway, no, I was calling. I just saw, a tweet by Professor Hake on the referring to a 13% increase in business closures. Where the minimum wage raised from where it is currently to $15.
Yeah.
And, I'm not doubting or disagreeing myself that is not the case. I am by no means an economic professor or specialist, but it seems that even the guys that are, highly educated in the matter, it seems that the data for the, over the years, we've had 22 increases to the minimum wage over time.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of the time, I think it was something like 68% of the time when we have that increase, there is actually growth in employment. And it just seems like they don't fully take into account whether we're in recession at the time of an increase or, there's so many variables in it.
For sure.
How do you get to the truth of the matter when the data says one thing and your so-called professors, have an agenda a lot of times? Where do we go to figure this out and have a serious and accurate debate on it?
It's a great question, and you just explained it so perfectly with regard to the data and stuff. Oh, Joe, I'm sorry, I can't get back to you again. Can you call me on Monday with that? He's calling back and to say he worked with Jen Brewer, which is cool. I would like to hear about that, Joe, but I'm sorry, I've talked to you once already today. We'll talk again. But anyway, Chris brought up the fact that this data talks about data is bringing in all of this information, and they don't factor in a lot of the stuff that's actually going on. But they say, oh, we raised the minimum wage, and yet we're still growing, basically, is what they're saying. I'm gathering is what you're seeing from the data. But as you pointed out, we don't know all of the facts that went into stuff. And human beings overcome challenges, and they come up with one way or another to survive and to thrive if they can. And but I think the best thing is not to trust the data, because the data is put together by people with an agenda, as you said, and it's not even people without an agenda are not going to be able to necessarily read the data in a way that's showing you the results. You can't always just be results-based. You can be common sense-based. You don't have to listen to any expert or educated person, because common sense says, do I have the right to hire you and you and I agree to a wage and nobody else has any right to be involved whatsoever? Yes, common sense says I have that right, but they've been violating that as a scam to increase minimum wage, which is just basically devaluing money by saying, oh, even though your work is really worth $5 an hour, we're going to pay you $15 because that's a living wage. And every person has a right to a living wage. It's a wedge to bring in people with ulterior motives, communism. It's a violation of your right to contract. And so if you get rid of that, then you don't necessarily need growth. You'll have your money, less money will be worth more. You know what I mean? And the cost of living will be lower, because you don't have to subsidize people's minimum wage with your buying stuff that from people who've been working $15 an hour when really they only worth $3 an hour. You're paying for stuff that you need is costing less. People aren't taking that into account. So get rid of minimum wage, I say. It's evil. It's a scam. Oh, I don't think he purposely hung up. He just got disconnected. He's in Alabama. No, I like Alabama. You know, it's with any so-called crisis or fake thing that they say, oh, this is a crisis. For example, the Chinese/commie virus. Fauci, by the way, is still with the Biden administration. He was a Hillary Clinton fanboy. Trump maybe never should have worked with him in the first place. But anyway, in one Chinese city, students are forced out as their schools are getting converted into quarantine centers. I thought that China was over this thing, this virus thing. Are they? Are they not? It's so hard to know with a lying communist country like China. But I thought that China had it under control. Now they're vacating the classrooms to put quarantine people in. What a mess. But these people who are doing this communist shutdown stuff, they're not actually handling the virus in a right way. What a mess. Fauci says it's a liberating feeling of no longer working under President Trump. I bet you it is, because Trump was a tough man to work for, because he wanted the best. He had actual standards. Joe Biden is such a phony, he's loosey-goosey. 100 million vaccines in 100 days, that's enough. That's enough. COVID-19 restrictions are making the rich richer and everyone else poorer. And that's just common sense. When you shut down small businesses and restaurants and people who are doing stuff that they're not allowed to do because of the fake COVID restrictions, they get so-called poor, and then they have to rely on Amazon and Uber and Uber Eats and all these other things. And Netflix. Well, we need our entertainment. What a scam. COVID restrictions. The communist COVID restrictions, making the rich richer and everyone else poorer. And the politicians and the health professionals, it's pretty warm in here, man. I think Joel maybe even is sleeping. They stay paid. I think he is sleeping. Anyway, can we turn on the AC? It's ridiculous. Let me get to Linwood. A first-time caller in Washington, D.C. wants to comment on minimum wage or ask about it. Linwood, what's up?
Hey, how's it going there, Mr. Hake?
Going well. How are you?
All right. Got to talk to you seriously for 1 minute. What job in America would you pay someone $3?
What job in America would I pay? You can tell the AC is coming on because the lights got dim. Joel said Pete put him in a slumber. There are many jobs. There are many jobs that would pop up that would pay $3 an hour for sure. Have you ever heard of?
Just name me one job that's legit.
Full service gas stations.
Oh, we don't have full service.
We used to, before minimum wage.
But we don't have it anymore. It's not going to come back.
How do you know?
Well, how do I know it's not going to come back?
If we got rid of minimum wage, they might well come back.
No,
Ushers.
it wouldn't come back. No.
Ushers.
No, not.
There's
not
all kinds of
Lynn.
Is your real name Linwood?
Yeah, that's my first name. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No relation to that lawyer, or are you related to that lawyer, Linwood?
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it. I
That's
don't
okay.
know who that is.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of new opportunities that would crop up if you didn't have to pay this fake minimum wage. If you could pay like $1 an hour or $5 an hour, all kinds of opportunities would come up.
Expecting man's gonna work for $3 an hour, or we're gonna have kids working again.
Many.
It's for the kids, right?
Yeah, kids too. Yeah, heck yeah.
Yes, just break the child labor laws and have kids working.
Some of those child labor laws are a little bit ridiculous. Let's be honest.
I knew you were gonna say that. That's why I said it. I know.
But think about it. Think about
Come on, Mr.
Think about how. Hold on. When you were a kid, did you ever pick up a penny on the ground?
Oh, of course.
And why would you pick up a penny? It's like worth so little.
No, to see what year it was.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to collect coins.
Okay. Well, nowadays, like, people would leave quarters on the ground. Quarters. When I was a kid, we would pick up a quarter or a dime, and many of us would pick up pennies. And yeah, sometimes you'd be like, oh, it's not because it's worth anything, just because to collect them or whatever. But money used to be worth more back in the day. And when you get rid of a minimum wage, money starts being worth more again. You notice how stuff gets more and more expensive over time?
Yes.
That doesn't seem exactly natural. It doesn't have to be like that. If you get $3 can be worth a decent amount again.
So you think probably that CEOs and whatnot make too much money?
Why are you bringing that up? I don't know.
Okay, because they make so much money each year, more than the regular people that work for them. So
I mean, because I don't know. I don't know. But that's irrelevant to minimum wage.
No, well, you said because, okay, well, you brought up the fact that people who have on minimum wage will work and make less, right? So I brought up the point, well, what about people who make much more than the minimum wage?
But that's irrelevant to whether we should have a minimum wage.
Well, that's because you say it's irrelevant. Doesn't make it so. I would probably need a third party.
How is it relevant? I'm not defending or because I don't know about that stuff. It's a completely different subject.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In my mind, it's a completely different subject, how much these huge CEOs get paid as opposed to what minimum wage is.
Okay.
Get rid of minimum wage. Get rid of minimum wage, and then you're not putting people, I don't know, you're just raising the cost of living, man. Come on, man.
Look,
and you're raising the cost of doing business. It's ridiculous.
Hey, come on, man. You worked at McDonald's before, right? Maybe.
No, but I've thought about it.
Okay.
I have friends who did.
Come on, right now, you don't think it's worth $15 an hour in D.C. to work in McDonald's? That's too much money.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So what should it be then? How much should the people make? $5 an hour?
Whatever the employer and the employee decide between themselves.
The employee look, let's be real, Mr. Hake. The employee at that level and that sophistication has no say in negotiations.
That's not true. That's not true because they can find Burger King.
They can find another competitor, and it will be fair.
Yeah, and then they can work for. They have all people in the good old days. In the good old days, before minimum wage, there were opportunities to.
Hey, Mr. Hake.
Yes.
Do me a favor. Don't say good old days to a black person.
Shoot, you're gonna make me say it more.
Don't do that, man. What good old days?
They're all good old days. You have no idea. You never had it so good back in the good old days.
Look, I'm 61 years old.
You are?
Yeah, I'm 61.
And what was so bad about the good old days? Good old days, my N-word.
I was born in 19. I couldn't even try a hat on in the store when I was born. My people couldn't. Right here.
Your people. What did you care when you were born?
People. No, listen, understand what I grew up under.
But who cares?
I cared.
But you only care because you're.
Look. My mother and father couldn't even try the clothes on that they bought in some of these department stores. And you could say
why? Because you guys steal or what? What was that reason?
No, don't do it. Don't say that, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's just low, man. Don't do that.
But I mean, blacks nowadays they steal. I don't know about back then.
Okay, they were stealing.
Okay, all right.
Real people. Y'all never talk about the middle class blacks.
You guys were, but you're complaining. Go back to the South then, because in the South you guys had your own communities.
I didn't come from the South.
All right, whatever. But you're only passionate about this because you're trained from childhood to be passionate into being a victim over this stuff.
Because you hear it. No, I'm gonna tell you why. It is not trained.
And minimum wage
if I'm
is.
Trained, you're trained.
You're trained too. We're all trained.
We all brainwashed to something.
That's not an excuse to stay that way. You're 61 years old. Get over it.
Get over what? Get over what now?
Get over the fact that the good old days were better than today.
They were not better than
Yes, they were.
Not for certain groups of people, they weren't.
Yeah, for you guys, they were way better. You guys were moral.
We're still moral.
No, you're not.
Blacks.
Not true.
That's the low-class blacks. Why do you do that?
No, I'm not just talking about low class.
No, we're not homogenous anymore.
Oh, no, you're worse than ever. You guys are voting Democrats like crazy, way worse than ever before, probably.
The hell with the Democrats and the hell with the Republicans, both.
But this is all irrelevant because minimum wage hurt blacks more than anything. You're just a sucker. You're too much of a sucker to know it.
No.
Yes? Yeah, it's true. No, listen. Let me tell you why. Because blacks...
You know what it was?
No, hold on.
It was also a surplus group of labor that the white man could pick up when blacks started flexing. You know, when we started flexing in the Detroit auto market, it was already going down. Did you know that?
Do you want the illegals deported?
Do I want anybody who's illegal deported?
Yeah.
Can I be honest with you? If they got some real technical skills that white folks and black folks don't have, I say let them stay. But if they don't,
that's how it starts, Linwood.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I said that's how it starts, Linwood. You start being a little lenient, and they're going to take a mile, man.
We have that program already.
I know. That's the problem. That's part of the problem. I got a text from Esteban, who's smarter than you or me. And he says minimum wage takes out the incentive to self-improve and move up the ladder. You're giving people so-called living wage for doing nothing. McDonald's shouldn't be for supporting families.
No, I agree with you. You need more than that.
It's ridiculous.
But let me say this. A lot of older people have had to fall back on jobs like McDonald's.
And
McDonald's is making plenty of money. They can afford it.
Right, in Linwood.
And I'm willing to pay for the hamburger.
Linwood.
I'm willing to pay.
They wouldn't have to fall back on McDonald's if they got rid of minimum wage because they'd be able to be ushers at movie theaters. Direct you to your seat. Very comfortable. You get to walk around.
You want to bring back buggy whips, don't you?
Huh?
You want to bring back buggy whips. That's before your time. But I'm just saying,
You could be.
Ushers in movie theaters. Come on, nobody needs an usher in a movie theater no more.
I know, but it's fun. It's nice. People would pay an extra $1 for it, especially if you get rid of minimum wage. Then it goes further.
You hardly remember ushers if you ever seen one. You're too young to know about that.
And we could bring back full service gas stations.
I know you mentioned.
And we could have the older Blacksby washing our windows from gas stations rather than from.
Blacks are retired.
I know. I'm joking around with you, but.
Oh, okay. I thought you serious.
But I'm serious about the job opportunities that could arise with getting rid of a minimum wage, man. You're being suckered by communism, man. Anyway.
Everything's communism. You goddamn communist. Bitch in the ass, you wouldn't know what it was. Lord, man, nobody trying to be a communist. We're all even a communist, a capitalist.
I know. That's why we need to be returned to morals, Linwood, because look at all these.
I've got morals.
You may have, but you're being suckered by people who don't, and you're falling for it.
Suckered. No, I'm not being suckered, no.
I mean, you're for minimum wage being raised.
I agree with a lot of what you say. I agree with a lot of what y'all say, you and Jesse.
Right on.
Huh?
Right on.
I don't?
No, I said nice.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay. I said, yes, I do. I listen to Jesse every day.
You catch Church with Jesse Lee Peterson?
I watch all of the Fallout channel and
the Fallout channel.
I saw Tito.
Nice.
He's the coolest of the Jacksons.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's kind of gangster. All the words that I had. But anyway, that's stereotyping. But, I can do that. I'm black.
We'll talk again, Linwood. I appreciate you, man.
Okay, I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Glad you have a nice show, man. Just stay strong. That's all I can tell you.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Have a good week. This has been the Hake Report, guys. TheHakeReport.com. And thank you to the supporters. JesseLeePeterson.com for Jesse Lee Peterson stuff. TheFallenState.tv for a new episode with this young whippersnapper thinks he knows stuff. I think he's like a Christian so-called socialist, which of course is an oxymoron. But he's an ox and a moron. RebuildingTheMan.com/church for Church with Jesse Lee Peterson. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Yeah.